Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Before I begin with this new video today, I just want to stop and say thank you to the amount of overwhelming support from my last video, which if you haven't checked out yet, I'll put up link somewhere here. But if I don't put it on the screen, it'll be in the description. It was really nice reading all of your guys' responses and feeling welcomed back into the community despite me not talking about prog all the time anymore. Obviously that came with a few repercussions of people being kind of mean and, you know, my subscribers dropped quite a lot. It doesn't matter because I have so many other people who want to listen to what I say and care about my opinion on things, which is really cool. So with that being said, we're going to lead into today's video, which is about what I've been listening to since I've been away. I've got a nice little pile of albums here that I'm ready to talk about. Some I have talked about before in previous videos, some I have not. So let's begin. I'll start with my little CD pile I've got here, because I've got a couple of piles. I've got all of the vinyl records here, and then I've got the CDs here. To start with, I will talk about... Oh, I don't know who to talk about first. I kind of summed up everything using the Stats for Spotify website. I was just going through what I've been listening to in the last 6 months because, as I said in the last video, I've been listening to so much stuff that it's been hard to keep track of everything since, you know, I used to do it every month and I was able to keep on top of it, but for some reason I've just not been able to. I've been using that website to check out my last 6 months of artists. Just went through those and picked a couple of albums from each artist. So this one might be quite long, so stick around. I'll either make it into 2 parts or I'll edit it so well that it won't need a second part. I'll start here. I will start with, I don't know if I can show this album on YouTube just because YouTube is so picky about like anything that falls under brief nudity, but I'll show the top of the album cover. This is Deftones. I have 2 of these albums here. I've got White Pony and Around the Fur. These albums have been very, very important in my journey into getting into like nu metal and that side of the 90s and that side of music and metal as a whole genre. They're both really great records. If you haven't listened to any of those, definitely do. I also want to give an honourable mention of, that's on the side here, to their first record, Adrenaline, which is a really, really good album. That's their first album, which is very raw and uncut. These 2 have a lot better production than that album. The one thing I'll say about Adrenaline is I don't really like the production, it's a bit too tinny, but these 2 are way better in terms of production, but all 3 of them musically are top notch. I've talked about this band so much on this channel that I don't even know if I need to talk about them anymore. They are super important to me to the point where I got a tattoo of their logo. I have still been listening to plenty of Rammstein, but particularly this album, Riser has been the one that's been on repeat more than any of their other records, even surpassing their latest record, which I was really, really big fan of. This album has got a lot of really great stuff on it. It's super heavy, super great, and got me through a lot of my kind of sadness. That's going to be a recurring theme throughout this video. These albums got me through a lot of bad times. But yeah, this album is super duper. But I'm not going to say any more on the matter because you know my thoughts and opinions on this group. I've made them very, very clear. A band that I got super, super back into was System of a Down. This album actually, Mesmerize, was the only one I had on vinyl for a while until a couple of weeks ago when I got Hypnotized as well. I also got their first record, but I didn't want to get it out because I'm lazy. But I have got the CD. It's in here. No, I don't. I don't have the CD. It's somewhere else. This album, as I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself, is in my top 10 albums of all time, which if you're interested in me making that video, let me know. It will definitely take a long time to prepare and plan just because I don't actually know my top 10. I know like my top 3 maybe, but I'd love to make a top 10 video. This is definitely in the top 5, definitely probably even in the top 3. This album has been a favourite of mine ever since I first heard it, which was probably like 2015, maybe a bit earlier. 2015, I'm going to go for the safe bet of 2015. Super, super brilliant album. Got really back into it again after not listening to it for maybe like a year or 2. Forgot how amazing it was. And then the kind of sequel, if you will, or it sounds really awful, but always forget which one came first. They came out in the same year, but Hypnotize, which I've been getting into recently, which was one that I never really listened to much when I was younger, but really into at the moment. I don't have the vinyl for this, which is kind of sad. Toxicity, this is, you know, the one that everyone knows and loves. I don't have the vinyl for this just yet, as I said, which is really sad because I really want it and I've wanted it for so long. When I was in HMV at the time, it was either between Hypnotize or Toxicity, and I picked this one because it was one that I was a little bit less familiar with. I'm very much familiar with this album, but I'm all about that discovery. Okay, another band that I've talked about on this channel before, probably just before I had my little hiatus, is Korn, and particularly this album. This is Issues, which was written after the lead singer was coming out of a really bad like patch of time filled with, you know, drug abuse. It makes for a really, really great album. Again, nu metal at its finest. Really great structure to the album as well. There's some really nice little like 1 minute, 2 minute tracks which are really good. Another band that I have been getting back into, this period of time has been very like nostalgia driven. It's a lot of music that I used to listen to that I've kind of fallen back in love with. Particularly, everyone's about to kind of give up on me now. This is Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. Actually, Johan kind of piqued my interest of this album back a few months ago. I hadn't listened to it like fully in a long time. And when I did, I was not disappointed that I didn't. It's a great album. What can I say? This fabulous album, and everyone's now gonna be upset. And if you weren't upset the fact that I'm now talking about Linkin Park on my channel, you will definitely all object to the fact that I'm about to talk about one of the most probably hated bands of the decade. I saw them live actually back in April with Johan, and I saw they were touring in London, and I thought, screw it, I'm just gonna go and see them live because I feel like the energy will be mad, like it's gonna be great. I'm talking about none other than Limp Bizkit. Everyone's now gonna unsubscribe, but these two albums, they're so good. Everyone, even I, was part of the Limp Bizkit hate train for so long. I was like, I hate this band, they're so crap, but they're actually really good. It's one of those opinions that people wouldn't really associate themselves with, but you know, finding out there are a lot of people who actually really like this band make me really happy. I had a lot of comments and DMs on my Instagram when I first started like posting about how much I actually really like Limp Bizkit, and people were like, I can't believe this, like what the hell are you doing? But these two albums are really, really good, and please listen to them because, you know, then you can form your own opinion of Limp Bizkit. I love Limp Bizkit. I'm going to take a little break here and say I don't actually have the CD, vinyl or anything for this particular album. I think I might have the CD, but it's not here. I got back into Prog during my time away, and before then I hadn't listened to Prog for maybe like a year or so, but what got me back into listening to them again was Dream Theater. I love Dream Theater, as you guys know, and I know a lot of you guys out there love Dream Theater as well. I saw them live at the beginning of the year, my third time seeing them, which kind of got me back into the prog headspace again. The album, I'll put a little picture of it because I don't have it, as I said, is Train of Thought, which was an album that I hadn't really listened to that much, but hearing a bunch of the songs live and kind of revisiting it, it's a phenomenal album. It's up there with maybe my top 5 Dream Theater records, which if you want to see that as a video, I'm happy to do it. The Thought by Dream Theater is one that I got really back into because, I mean, the songwriting on that album, everything about it is just amazing. That was prog break over. Now I'm going to talk about this band, Metallica. So this album, And Justice for All, is the one that got me really back into them because I've been a Metallica fan for a very long time. I've seen them live twice, and I'm about to see them live twice again because I'm going to Download Fest next week, and they're playing 2 of the nights. This was the album that got me back into them. I know everyone really kind of hates on this album, mainly because it's the first album without Cliff, and also the production being kind of crap. My copy sounds pretty decent, but this album is musically one of my favourites from the band, and got me listening to them again, which is really good, in time for next week. Next, I'm going to talk about these 3 albums. They're all from the same band. I am very upset that I missed them because I think they played live in the UK last year, and I just completely missed it because I wasn't really listening to them that much at the time. I'm talking about 9 Inch Nails. So I've got Pretty Hate Machine, which is the first one, then I've got Can I hold these up? Downward Spiral, and then The Fragile. Yeah, these 3 albums have been a very big help in my big sad era of the last few months. Just some very nice, gritty, production amazing albums, particularly that first record. Sometimes I sit back and listen to this album and I think there's no way this is a debut album. You know, you'll hear an album that a band produces, just like the first one, and sometimes it's like their beginnings, but nothing has floored me more than this album as a debut. I remember when I first listened to it, I was like, what the hell, this is crazy. I re-listened to The Fragile yesterday. As far as double albums go, you know, that's got like no filler at all. I think it's just an all-in-all amazing album. With double albums, you tend to find some of the tracks are just kind of there. They don't really contribute much to the album. They're just kind of there for filler. There is no filler on this album. It's so good. I'm now going to talk about this band. And yeah, I was that sad. And I was that sad. I was listening to a lot of Alice in Chains, which, you know, can be just kind of like my depression music at the moment. Fall back onto these 2 records, particularly Jar of Flies, which is an EP. Don't have the vinyl, really want it. It's just a big help. It's a good cry, and the music is just really great. Out of all the grunge bands, I'd probably say that Alice in Chains are my favourite, more than Nirvana and more than Pearl Jam and whatnot. I just think it's more suited to my taste because they're kind of bordering on the metal side, and the production is amazing, songwriting amazing, musicianship amazing. Literally everything about this band is amazing. And talking of Nirvana, actually, I re-listened to In Utero, and it was one I hadn't heard in a really long time. I was really into Nirvana when I was first getting into like alternative music back when I was, I don't know, 13 maybe. Nirvana were like one of the first bands that I discovered. I found Nevermind on our Apple Music collection, or iTunes collection at the time. I listened to it and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. And then I met Johan and he told me about this album and I was like, oh my god, I haven't listened to Nirvana since I was like 14, 15. So I gave it a shot and I've been re-listening to this a lot the last few weeks actually, because this one I re-listened to fairly recently. It's better than Nevermind. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but it just is. Talking of new metal again, I discovered this band recently. A really, really good band, and that is Kittie. They are an all-female new metal band, and they are very, very cool. And I saw some of their clips that they played at the Sick New World Festival, which I'm really sad that was not in Europe at all, because I would have so gone to that. But this album is so good. Production amazing, songwriting amazing. The themes as well running throughout the album, you know, there's a lot of anger and stuff, which was very appropriate for what I was going through. Shoot, I didn't talk about this earlier, but I did listen to the new Metallica record. I bought it as well. I didn't want to listen to it on Spotify. For some reason at the time I was thinking, I don't want to listen to something on Spotify. I'm like, I want to be cool and I want to listen to physical format, because I got back into using my Walkman again. My opinion on this album, it's okay. Nothing new, but it's good for what it is. And I think people were kind of hoping for more than what they were actually going to get. Their music has been very recycled the past few albums anyway. You know, no hate to that, because I love them anyway. I also got back into Slipknot. I think I talked about this probably before I left YouTube as well, but I've been listening to them a lot lately because I'm seeing them live literally next week. Crazy. Slipknot, great band. A lot of people hate them as well. A lot of people just hate new metal as a whole. Slipknot, really good. I've been wanting to see them live since I was very, very young. I listened to this album for the first time a few weeks ago. This is Super Unknown by Soundgarden, and the reason why is because I wanted to get more acquainted with the genre as a whole of grunge, and I think this album is so good. Great album. Very, very like classic rock inspired. Really, really great. Vocals, obviously, I don't need to talk about that. So I listened to this album for the first time ever, and it really, really impressed me. I really enjoyed it. I really liked 10 by Pearl Jam. Again, one that Johan showed me that for some reason I just never listened to when I was younger. Really great album. Musically, really good. Also, this one kind of helped me pull out my kind of sadness and a lot of these albums really helped me get through my hand-in time, because I recently handed in all my assessments for my university, my second year. It was dumb and I left a lot of it to the last minute, and a lot of these kind of helped me press through that. The last album I'm going to talk about is one that I think a lot of people out there who are in the prog kind of world, and if you like metal as well, particularly like heavier kind of stuff, this is Meshuggah, and this is a really great record as well. There's a lot of progressive elements in this. I reckon if you are into your prog and you also like your prog metal, this is one to check out. This has got some really cool kind of progressive elements. I mean, there's a lot of progressive elements in this album and in their music as a whole, so definitely check this one out. This is Obscene, and I'm also seeing them as well this year, which is exciting. But yeah, that is the end of the video. If I've missed anything out, I will chuck it in somewhere. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!